All please rise, salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, folks, to the zoning subcommittee meeting of February 5th, 2018. I'd like to call into order the members. Steve Morabito.
Here.
Councilor Charles Patch.
Here.
Councilor Dan Rizzo. Said he will be late. Councilor Tony Zambuto.
Here.
Tonight we'll be taking up the matter of both 320, 329 Revere Beach Parkway, as well as 540 Revere Beach Parkway. We'll start with 320, 329 as it stands on the calendar.
Pictures, photos, selfies. It's a good guy. Yeah, he is a good guy.
And this is the HR Development LLC of 30B Railroad Street, Revere, Massachusetts, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to raise the existing non-conforming structure and construct a new 6-story mixed-use structure with 2 commercial units on the first floor and 145 residential units on the remaining floors at 320, 329 Revere Beach Boulevard, Revere, Massachusetts. My understanding is that throughout the period of the past 6 months, this has been through several renditions. My understanding that this will go through several more. It will be remained into committee.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Lawrence Simeone for the applicant, Achara Development LLC. As you noted, we have gone through a couple of changes, certainly material changes, as we've discussed with our principal neighbor, the St. George. This is property located in the RC1. It's about an acre, .13 of land, and our proposal is 145 units on a mixed-use project. So since the last time we were before you, we have been working with the developer and our principal venture partner, NRP, which is the 7th largest apartment developer, multifamily developer in the country, about making some changes to the exterior of the structure and to basically enhance the mixed-use aspect of the structure. We anticipate presenting those changes to the St. George. We've had a difficult time getting a meeting with them. As we noted publicly, we tried to get a meeting, but somebody in some critical person's family had a death in the family, and that delayed us. So we're hoping to meet with them as soon as possible to talk about these material changes, which will include structural relocation, along with enhancing the mixed-use features that I discussed. That said, the 90-day clock, if you will, on your action, it ends at February 25th, and so one of the things that I'm looking at is the fact that you have no meetings for the rest of the month, with the exception of the 26th, which is beyond the 90-day period. And so I've penned a letter on February 1st, 2018 to Jessica Giannino, the president of this honorable body, seeking, in accordance with state law, the opportunity for the applicant to extend the final date of action for a period of 60 days in order to allow us the further opportunity to meet with the people we want to meet with, and hopefully maybe even come back before this committee with those changes before we ask the committee as a whole to act on it. As you can see, we are working on this is the platform that we last left you with. This is the platform we hope to change, both with structural changes, relocation of the building changes, and changes to advance the mixed-use aspect, which is the streetscape and so forth. So at this time, I'd ask that you keep this matter in committee. I'll be before you as committee as the whole on my request for extension shortly.
Thank you, Attorney Semenioni. When you have my counsel is Counsel Maravito.
Well, I'm just... hot mics now. So I just wanted to say that I'm glad you're going to go back to the drawing board and comply with what zoning Board of Appeals said, and I'd be willing to give you the extension if you can meet with their standards.
Anybody on the left side, Counsel Patch?
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go in order, John. I'll get you after Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to mention that I have no problem with giving an extension on this matter. Thank you.
Counsel Powers?
Just a point of information for the body.
Sure.
Last week, the zoning board of appeals had a meeting at which time this was proposed, and not the extension, the building itself, and I think it was brought up that they lacked 80 parking spaces, number one, and number two, that what they were requesting was flush with the sidewalk, and they were looking for a 10-foot variance on the side yard, and at that time, the zoning board of appeals voted 5-0 not to allow that. So I just want to bring the body up to date so that they're aware of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Counsel Zambudo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what mic's working, what's not here.
Now, this is the first time I'm surprised that we can't hear your voice.
My voice
We
will,
got
my voice will always be heard.
we got Rick in the back
Chairman.
laughing there. That's beautiful.
I don't need a microphone. I certainly support the extension, and I'm sure all things will be worked out eventually here. So that's all I have.
That said, I'm going to just take a moment. This is a $50 million project. My understanding is that, and I hope there's some remediation for Sullivan Park. I know that was part of the process in the past, but there's some kind of confluence with that. I do understand that the ZBA is concerned about having the property flush with the, I would say, the sidescape or the streetscape, but at present, so isn't Bianchi's Pizza Shop and the Boulevard. The current properties are non-conforming as they stand. But whatever you can to do to amend it to make this project go through, it would be an important step for the city of Revere. Adding more parking is obviously something that the city would want, considering that the majority of the projects in the past have been allowed with minimal parking. And one of the things that I plan on doing in this zoning committee is actually increasing parking within the city, because at this point, I think many of the projects in the past, including the St. George and many of the others on Revere Beach Boulevard, either by right or by folly, have been given too many liens when it comes to parking, and right now, that's a critical issue in the city. So
Thank you, Mr.
I welcome you back. This will be remanded to subcommittee. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the 540 Revere Beach Boulevard accessory sign.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm Roy McDowell, representing Based on Revere LLC for 540 Revere Beach Boulevard, and we're here this evening for a request on a sign. You'll see here, I think you've received these. If you don't have them, I have 11 by 17s with me. I can give you those if you don't have them. Would you like those?
Sure.
Eric, why don't you stand those up? So basically what we have is a very small sign we'd like to put in the front of the building. It's parallel to Revere Beach Boulevard. It is approximately 6 feet long, and it's about 42 inches high, and it's very thin and narrow, and it's glass. So it's just going to be a sheet of glass that'll be lit from within at night. So it'll say Beach House with the Beach House logo, and that's why we're here this evening. And this here gives you a visual of the sign, and if you'll...
Where's the manufacturing?
You can see it here, and you'll see it on your smaller drawings. And it's actually...
Very elegant.
Thank you. It's actually just to the right of the main courtyard as you drive in. We have a courtyard in front of the building as you drive in, and it's all pavers. It's not asphalt, but it's all modular pavers with 2 pergolas, under lighting, and quite significant amount of landscaping. Matter of fact, after meeting with Frank Stringy, we've actually increased the landscaping in the front of the building, adding in more coniferous and evergreen plant material to break the screens that are in the garage area.
Very good. Gentlemen, for the moment, I'd like to break and ask of counsel, because it is his ward and deference to him, if he has any questions or...
Thank you,
Any
Mr. Chairman. I had one call from a resident down there who was a bit misunderstanding with regard to what the sign was. They thought it might be a billboard on top of the roof, et cetera, et cetera. And so in the interest of transparency, what I did was I spoke with the Carol Fisher, who is the secretary down there, and asked her if we could put a schematic down there of the sign and dimensional requirements. And she agreed to it, and then we let people in the building know that if they really wanted to see what the sign was like, they could go into the office and examine it. And this is a sign, you all have this in front of you. I think this is something you would find in the more affluent communities of the Commonwealth, the Dovers, the Wellesleys, the Westons, and places like that. And I think it's a tremendous positive step for that project. It's something that I think people will marvel at when they go by there and see what a nice job this particular developer has done. And I, as a ward councilor, I certainly support this 100%. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Does anybody on the committee have any commentary that they wish to make? Counsel Patch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I have no problem with this sign going up. It's a beautiful sign, and it's always good to go along with the ward council. Thank you.
Counsel Zambudo?
Well, you know, my position on this type of stuff is if I support a project, I'm certainly going to support a sign for it, so
Very well.
it's tastefully done, and of course I support it. Thank you.
Counsel Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had one question for the developer. The sign does look very nice, and I know you showed it at one of the last council meetings. Doesn't look like it's going to be overly intrusive to the neighborhood. But just on the property alone, I know that this project was approved a few years back, and it's coming to fruition now. Does this building intend on charging for the parking that if a tenant rents a unit, will they be charging additional for parking?
Yes, very similar to Ocean 650 and the Vanguard. The spaces that are indoors, because we do have some spaces outside, the outside spaces we don't charge for, but the inside spaces we do charge for, and I think we're actually slightly less than Ocean 650 or Vanguard in the charging for those.
How many outside spaces?
I think we have about 22, I believe. We didn't require or ask for any variances for parking. We have plenty of parking. We have, I think, over 366 parking spaces.
Understood. So I know that, once again, coming to the council for certain special requests in addition to the proposal, I would consider, and I know that I'm not on zoning subcommittee, but I would consider, you know, any of these requests to be held up with the fact that you'd be charging for the additional parking or charging for parking spaces, considering to me, it's somewhat of a loophole. When you were granted the license to build a few years ago, it came with parking. Now you're telling us that they're going to be charging for the additional spaces.
Well, it's actually...
Point of order.
Yes.
First of all, that's a commerce issue. This is not related to the sign at hand. Second of all, underneath the law, he has a right to charge what he wishes to charge. So that said, if this isn't pertaining to the sign itself, I'd like to move forward. Other than that, do you have any further
Counsel.
comment?
Mr. Chairman,
wanted
if
to
I
state
could
my-
make a comment on that.
Please.
There was never intention not to charge for parking. I mean, those parking structures cost many millions of dollars, and you really need to charge for parking to offset that. And frankly, what we're charging is what is the norm in the marketplace.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. Appreciate that.
With that said, I'd like to take this up for a vote.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Roll call of the members of the zoning subcommittee on the special permit for 540 Revere Beach Boulevard. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rizzo is absent. Counselor Zambuto?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit is a favorable recommendation to the full city council.
With that said, this will be the closing of the Revere City zoning subcommittee. Thank you for your attention and your time.